Hello, once again, welcome to your fourth and final reflection point for the Faith in Action Award. I'll be a bit worried if you still don't know who we are, but we'll just quickly introduce ourselves again. So, hello, I'm Lauren.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Ellie.
Fantastic. And this reflection point is looking at servant leadership. And I think the best way to look at this is to kind of break it down into two different parts. Because you have your serving, and then you have your leadership, and they seem like complete opposites to me. When you think of a servant, you won't think of leadership, and when you think of leadership, you don't think of a servant. And so, I thought we'd try and open up this session by looking a little bit deeper at them different words. So to do this, I've got a little task for you both, once again. Because if you remember in a past reflection point, you did quite poor. Do you remember when you were writing down them words? Yes. And what was it, like 12 words in a minute? 10. It's even worse, isn't it? And I'm sure you did a lot better back at home. So, it's another challenge, okay? Your challenge is, here's whiteboard, don't use a green pen, it's remembered from last time. But you're going to think, and in the space of a minute, you need to name as many people as you can in a certain category, which I shout out. Okay, so someone needs to go on whiteboard.
Well, shall it be me since we know my handwriting's bad? Well?
Yeah, let's go with it. So,
right.
Are we ready?
What's your category?
My category is people who wear glasses. Off you go. You got a minute.
Okay, so me,
Ellie,
Lauren, you,
me,
Simon.
Oh, all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
all four of us, yeah. My mum, my dad,
And my mum and dad.
Ellie's mum,
And my dad.
Ellie's mum, Ellie's dad,
I should be helping you, actually.
Lauren's dad.
Yeah.
Ellie's Lauren. I've written Ellie's Lauren by accident.
Oh
Okay.
dear, you're halfway through.
Lauren.
Harry Potter.
Harry
Oh,
Potter.
Harry Potter's a good one, yeah.
Arthur from that TV show.
Arthur from Arthur.
We all know Arthur, so yeah, let's get him down.
Arthur from
10 seconds remaining. You're not doing well at all.
My sister.
Oh.
Guitar.
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran.
Oh no, John Lennon.
John Lennon.
Not Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran.
Oh, we're out of time.
John.
Sorry. Are you cheating now?
John Sheeran.
John Sheeran, right, okay. So, I'm sorry to say this, but you can't write down all your family members. It doesn't work like that. So,
You never said that.
well, I've just added that in now. So,
Okay.
because I want to see how well you've done in a minute. So, who have we got apart from all of our mums and dads and us?
Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Arthur from Arthur.
yeah.
And John Sheeran.
John Sheeran, fantastic. So, in the space of a minute, you're telling me that you've got 3 people in that category who wear
Well, you
glasses.
didn't tell us that we couldn't have the first 4, 5, 6,
If
7,
we did
8,
count them
9,
in, how many would you have?
12.
12. That's
That's
still
not bad.
that's, I'm still not impressed by that. So we're going to do another round, okay? I suppose there's a wiper up just there, so you can just wipe that down. And are you ready for your next category? We'll get the timer ready. Oh, the pressure's on. Because I want you to now name bands. Off you go.
Bands.
Minute.
Okay.
Where's the timer?
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, bands.
So the Vamps.
The Vamps.
5 Seconds of Summer.
5 seconds of summer.
One Direction.
1D. They don't exist anymore.
Yes, they do.
The Beatles
Say
then.
that.
Take that.
I like take that.
I should have capitalised that. Come on, Ellie, go. I'm using.
Flying.
Girl.
You're not doing well, you've got half a minute left.
Oh no. Oh.
Motorhead.
Guns N' Roses.
Metallica. Guns N' Roses.
Abbott, please,
Oh, no.
let's get all these classics out.
Harry Potter. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Band. Yeah.
Oh no, 6 seconds.
3, 2,
Little
1.
Mix.
Stop. Oh, sorry, you can't have Little Mix because
Lol.
it's time.
I've written lol.
That's, yeah. Okay, so how many have we got?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Wow, we're on the same thing here. I'm a bit disappointed because I think the people back at home would have got a lot more than you lot.
I think they would have gone a lot more.
Well, we're going to go on to our last round, and this one I'm going to say is a little bit harder.
Oh, no.
So I don't know where you're going to go with this.
Oh, no.
I'll be amazed if you get more than 12 for this. So, are you ready for your last category?
Go ahead.
Your last category is a servant.
Right.
Dobby.
Dobby. From Harry Potter, a famous servant to Dumbledore's schemes. Alfred the Butler from Batman. Alfred the Butler of Batman fame. Come on, Ellie, while I'm writing.
I'm trying to think.
Gosh, you're already halfway through.
Servant.
Nay, Pennyworth. Father Simon. Jarvis, Iron Man's AI thing. Friday, who he gets after Jarvis.
What's that other weird creature
Okay,
that's
you've got 10 seconds remaining.
Gollum.
Pressure's on,
Yeah.
come on.
Oh.
Wait, yeah, put Gollum.
No, I'm putting Sam Gamgee. There we go. Sauron.
I've never heard of these people in my life.
Because you were on your phone when we
Oh,
watched the Lord of
okay.
the
What's
Rings
that one
instead of...
that?
Time's
I don't know
up.
how to
Time's
do
up. Time's up. Go and take your
The
seat.
people in Star Wars, the people that take over. I don't know.
The people that are in Star Wars who
Yeah,
take
they're
over.
white people with the helmets.
Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that there because your time is up, and unfortunately that means this discussion doesn't matter anymore. So let's see how far you got. 1, 2, 3,
3, 4,
4,
5, 6.
6.
I think that's quite good.
Well, you can think that, but we all know that's quite bad. Well, I did say that round there was the hardest round, but actually I'm going to arguably now contradict that and say it was the easiest round.
You did. Well, we got this. We only got 6, and one of them is
Yeah.
a joke because it's just Harry Potter.
But the thing is that all of us sat in this room, people sat back at home, in fact, a lot of people in the world, are we not servants?
No. No.
What do you think of if you're a servant? If I say you're a servant, what?
You're able to serve someone.
Altar servant.
Okay,
when I was a
interesting. So, you might never have thought about this, but are you not a servant of God?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
So this was the easiest round because you could have literally written down the whole population of the world.
Right. Okay.
We could have got like 7 billion.
I don't know them all personally. Would that have only counted as one? Just everyone.
But I think that's interesting, isn't it? Because actually you thought that was the hardest round, but when you think a little bit outside the box, you realise, well, I'm a servant. I try and do good things. I listen to what someone's telling me, what God's telling me, and I try and live out that message. So surely then we are all servants of God.
Okay, yeah. Makes sense.
You with me? You got me? Excellent. But I did say that we're going to have a look at these a little bit separately. So I'm going to go on to leadership now because we've got the servant bit. If we're servants, we are servants of God. We try and do good things. We try and actually live a life where we're caring for others, we're listening to others, we're living a life the best that we can. Now leadership. Leadership's a little bit tougher because what do you think of when you think about leadership?
Being in charge.
Yeah, like.
Father Simon is in charge of us.
That's true,
Or
yeah.
like a sports coach or something.
Yeah. Like Jurgen Klopp.
Jurgen Klopp.
Oh yeah, it is, isn't it? Oh, you can tell I don't watch football, so I thought it was a different name.
Instead of Jurgen Klopp, can we have Carlo Ancelotti instead, please?
Okay, I'll do that when I edit.
Thank you.
But I suppose really what I'm trying to say, without kind of saying the wrong names, is that actually when we think about leadership, we do think of like management, people in charge. And I think you're completely right. You know, you might think my head teacher back at school, he's a leader, he leads the school. You might think of that coach for that football team, he has to lead that team. And I think that's definitely true. Don't get me wrong. But to me, I was thinking about this last night, and I thought, actually, there's like a few different ways you can be a leader. And I was thinking that actually maybe is a leader not just simply someone who sets a good example.
Yeah, to be honest, when we first moved on to leadership, I was thinking about like the two of them together. I know we're going to come to that, but when you combine, being like a servant of God with being a leader, you are then setting a good example for people, like you just said. So if you live your life in a good way, then you become a leader for everyone else by your example, don't you?
And I think sometimes that can be like unrecognised. Sometimes we can question, well, does anybody even recognise that I'm doing these good things, that I'm living like this fulfilled life? But I suppose if you're doing good things, then people are going to admire you for that. And if they admire you, then they're actually trying to follow you. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking as well when you said it.
So if we've looked at then this servant actually living this good life, if we live this good life, we go into leadership because we're admired, we're kind of looked at to be this person who in fact we might not see it, but others see us setting this example.
Yeah, so essentially then servant leadership combined together means to be like Jesus in your life, to follow Jesus' example and therefore set an example to other people.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But I think we now have a piece of scripture, don't we, Tom?
Yeah. So, as is the case with all our other reflection point videos, we have now a piece of scripture to help us reflect on our theme. And for this one, it's the part of the story of the Last Supper, and it is Jesus washing the feet of his disciples.
The Lord be with you, and with your spirit. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Glory to you, Lord. It was almost time for the Jewish Passover festival. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world and go back to the Father. Jesus had always loved the people in the world who were his. Now was the time he showed them his love the most. Jesus and his followers were at the evening meal. The devil had already persuaded Judas Iscariot to hand Jesus over to his enemies. The Father had given Jesus power over everything. Jesus knew this. He also knew that he had come from God, and he knew that he was going back to God. So while they were eating, Jesus stood up and took off his robe. He got a towel and wrapped it around his waist. Then he poured water into a bowl and began to wash his followers' feet. He dried their feet with a towel that was wrapped around his waist. He came to Simon Peter, but Peter said to him, "Lord, you should not wash my feet." Jesus answered, "You do not know what I am doing now, but later you will understand." Peter said, "No, you will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "If I do not wash your feet, you are not one of my people." Simon Peter said, "Lord, after you wash my feet then, wash my hands and my head too." Jesus said, "After a person has a bath, his whole body is clean. He needs only to wash his feet, and you are clean, but not all of you are." Jesus knew who would hand him over to his enemies, and that is why he said, "Not all of you are clean." When Jesus finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and went back to the table. He asked, "Do you understand what I did for you? You call me teacher and you call me Lord, and this is right because that is what I am. I am your Lord and I am your teacher, but I washed your feet. So you should also wash each other's feet. I did this as an example for you. So you should serve each other just as I served you. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
There's something I've only just noticed about that story, hearing it now. The fact that Jesus washes all the other 11 apostles' feet before coming to Peter, but no one else says anything. Peter's the first one who goes, wait, hang on, what are you doing? Like, I don't want you to wash my feet, which I thought was a bit interesting, to be honest.
Why would someone object from you washing? Well, I mean, I would. If it was Jesus, I kind of go along with it and go, yeah, okay.
I love Jesus to
I
wash
feel
my feet.
like you have to do it, so.
It'd be really weird, wouldn't it? Obviously, I wouldn't want anyone washing my feet, never mind someone who was like, you know, so much higher above me. It'd be like, you know, being in school and the head teacher comes into class with a bucket of water and goes, right everyone, shoes, socks off, I'm going to wash all your feet. And everyone just goes, alright, yeah. Let's do
Is
that.
it not something, I'm not good with like history and stuff like that, but I'm sure like back then, they would have either like been wearing sandals
Oh yeah.
or no shoes at all.
Probably, yeah. Some of them probably didn't have shoes, they probably wearing sandals, and since they didn't have cars, and I imagine they didn't have many horses or they didn't have horses or donkeys to ride, they would have walked everywhere, and the feet would have been absolutely filthy, would have been covered in dirt and mud, probably,
It'd be cut as well.
oh yeah, probably covered in horse poo as well from everyone else who was riding the horse, and yet Jesus is like, I don't care, I need to wash your feet, I'm going to scrub them clean.
There is like a picture which I particularly like. I would say the artist's name, but you know what I'm like with names now, so I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. But this is a picture here, and you can see it up on screen. And there's something which, well, there's a few different things which I quite like about this. But where is Jesus in this photo?
Clearly there, wearing white, he's the one.
Correct. And I'm going to say that's Simon Peter there because he's got his hand up and he's kind of saying like, no, don't be doing this, but he's doing it anyway because that's Jesus. He does what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's true. Jesus, I would say Simon Peter, but he is actually somewhere else as well. Jesus.
He's in all of us, man.
Yes, that is very true. But I suppose what I mean by that is, can you see his face there in the bowl of the water?
Oh, yeah, the reflection.
His reflection. And I like that idea because maybe that's like the message of this reading. It's the fact of when you do kind of things, when you do wash people's feet, you know, you are actually working through me. And so people don't just see you, but they also see me within you. And I think that's like really nice because actually it kind of shows, like Jesus says, he's in us, he's there with us on our journey. And actually when people can see these different acts which we do in the world, they see Christ.
Yeah, I'm not an art critic or anything, but I've just thought as well, because his face is in the water's like really dirty, I've just thought maybe that like kind of represents, you know, Jesus, you know, being in the world, you know, getting dirty.
Stuck in.
Getting stuck in, that's what I'm trying to say.
Definitely,
you know,
yeah.
Like he came to, you know, take people's sins away, so he had to, you know, I don't know how to phrase it.
I know, I think I like that point because there is, isn't there, in the world there's so many things going on, and let's be honest here, the world isn't the best it can be. There's a lot of bad as well, and it's like though, isn't it, like in every bad situation you can always see some good. And maybe that's where Jesus plays his part. He kind of makes you realise that it isn't the worst it can be.
Yeah, I think that.
Exactly. But it is a bit weird if we did go around like washing people's feet, I'm not gonna lie. So maybe like another thing we could think about is that we shouldn't be, like the implications of like coming from that is that we shouldn't just be washing people's feet, we're there to serve other people and like help the people along the way.
Yeah, like Jesus said in the gospel, I think like, I'm doing this so that you can follow my example. I'm sure it doesn't mean just literally washing people's feet. I'm sure it means following his example for his whole life and being a servant to people, like you said.
And I think that's why servant and leadership, even though they seem like the complete opposite, come together. Because it's like when you do good things, you become this example, and you become this example for others to follow.
Okay, now, so as is tradition, we have a challenge for you guys, and I'm going to have Laura and Ellie take part in this as well, because they don't know what is going to happen. You might need a pen and paper for this, or you can do it in your head.
Do we need?
You can use the whiteboard, yeah. So, while Lauren's doing that, I'll tell you the basic premise of this activity. So, imagine in the near future you are an astronaut and you're heading to the moon to go and join the new moon base. There's a picture of the moon in case you don't know what it looks like. There we go. So, unfortunately, just as you're about to, as you're coming in to land on the moon, something goes wrong with your ship and it starts to crash and go down. You end up somewhere in the vast wilderness of the moon, 200 miles from the base where you need to be. Fortunately,
this doesn't sound good, does it?
You know,
it's all going very well.
You're not injured though, that's a plus. And you managed to salvage 10 things from the spaceship. And you need to get now from the ship to the base and for survival, to be saved.
Okay.
I will show you what the 10 items are. So, first one, food rations.
Food's always important.
Yeah, next, a magnetic compass, 20 litres of water, 2 100-pound oxygen tanks, a solar-powered FM receiver transmitter, basically a walkie-talkie, a solar-powered walkie-talkie, signal flares.
Who would you signal to?
Well, that's up to you to think. Stellar map, so a map of the stars, not a really good map. Next, 2.45 caliber pistols. There we go. I don't know why you brought them with you.
At least we can have one each.
Oh, sorry. At the bottom,
rope.
50 feet of nylon rope. There we go. Is that 10? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. No, last one. First aid kit. Right. So your challenge then is you've got these 10 items. I want you to put them in order from 1 to 10 of which is the most important for your survival. So 1 is the most important thing and 10 is the least important thing. So if you at home watching as well want to do that 1 to 10, which of these items is the most important, which is the least to help you survive on the moon and get to the base?
Okay.
Off you go.
Right. So,
I've got a question. The magnetic compass. So we've got no gravity.
There is gravity on the moon.
But I'm not on the moon, am I?
Yeah, we're on the moon. We crashed, landed on the moon, but
right.
we're 200 miles from where we need to be.
right. Okay.
Why is it magnetic though?
Because it's just how compass
Right, okay, is it? Right.
I think number 10 should be the signal flares.
So I'm putting number 10
Why?
Because no one's going to see you. You're on the moon.
Well, someone with a telescope on Earth might be like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, if I get to live forever. I mean, it's not helping us out in any form.
Okay.
I think number 9 should be the first aid kit because surely you can't be doing that in space.
That's true.
That's very wise.
So number 9, I'm going to say first aid.
You don't want to be taking your spacesuit off.
8, I think the pistols.
Yeah, I don't really know what you can do with them.
Unless it's alien. Is there aliens?
I'm not sure, but your first instinct on seeing an alien would be to shoot on sight.
I would shoot an alien.
What happened to loving your neighbour?
Yeah, I'll try and get to know him because I could be out there for a few days.
They might be able
What
to
if he's
help
trying
you.
to attack you though?
Maybe that's their way of hugging.
And I'm going to put number 8.
Yeah, but it is. Okay. And then.
Wait a minute, the FM receiver transmitter, is that even going to work? I don't quite get
No,
that.
I don't think it will.
So we put that 7.
It's solar powered.
No, because the sun's on the design. That's the sun. Then they might have them.
I I don't really get the map. Because why would you need to know where the stars are?
You don't know why. You'll know where.
But I suppose if you saw a star, you would know where you were. Oh no, but you already know you're on the moon. So you don't need to know where you are. So
Where am I?
I think that's
right. We're gonna put the map at 6. Right, number 5. I think the oxygen tanks are going to be important because
yeah.
even if you get quickly saved, if your oxygen runs out, you're dead.
That's true.
But they're heavy though, for £100.
Yeah, but we're taking them anyway. We've got them in our backpack, so we might as well use them. So number 5,
The road?
could you even drink water?
Oh, you can let that float?
Yeah.
There is gravity on the moon.
No, because you
I
see them walking.
I got a picture of a water bottle, but I assume you've got like containers in your suit.
Right, number 5. Oh, I've not even thought about the nylon rope, but there's not much you can do. If you're on the moon, it's not going to get you to Earth, that is it?
No.
Just fit this in and go down the rope, and I'm back on. No, right. So let's put rope 5. 4. Should we put food? Do you think flares is the most important?
No, we've got flares.
You've got flares as 10.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So what have we got left?
oh,
Have I done this wrong? Is it 10?
Yeah, they're a 10.
Oh right. Oh no, we've got the map. We've got the rope.
You haven't done the
Oh,
rope,
the compass.
the food,
Oh,
the compass.
we won't need that.
No, compass. Then shall we do number 3?
You haven't done the food, the oxygen, or the...
Should we do oxygen as number 1?
Yeah.
Then food, then water. No, water, then food.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we've got water. I don't think they're going to be able to see on the board, but you know what I'm saying. Food. And number 1. What was number 1 again? Oh yeah, we want to stay alive. So,
That's the plan.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm quite happy with that. Are you
Yeah,
happy with
yeah.
that? Okay, this is our final
Thanks.
products, and hopefully, with all our debating, you've been able to do it back at home as well. And so,
I'm going to tell you now that there is a right answer to this question. I have them written down in my notepad, so I'm going to get that now. Thank you, Father Simon. Okay, so...
I don't think we've done this right. If there's a right answer, I think we've.
No, I think it's right. Because you won't need the things at the bottom, I don't think.
So, right, go on, Tom. What's occurring here?
Right, I'm going to have them up on the screen as well. So, number 1, oh, shall I start from number 10?
Yeah, number 10.
Number 10, the least important thing then.
Oh, I don't need to write it down, do I? Because it's coming on the board.
Well, it's backwards because I'm starting on number 1 on this. So, should I start number 1?
Yeah, start number 1.
Alright, number 1 then is, of course, the oxygen. As you said, so you got that right. You need it to breathe, obviously. And even though it says they're £100 on the moon, they'd only weigh about £17 because the gravity's
that's
less.
good.
There you go.
Wait, I have a question.
Okay.
So, if I go to the moon, I'd be lighter than I was here.
Yes.
I've never really thought about going to the moon, to be honest, until this activity. And I'm a bit confused how that would all work. So,
Right.
that's a good question. Yeah, okay, sorry.
Number 2
Yeah.
is the water. You were right about that as well. Oh no, you're not. You put water as 3.
Oh,
Unlucky.
Oh no, it was meant to be 2.
It was, but it's not.
Oh.
No, you can't change it. It's too late. Time's run out.
Very quickly,
No,
because I
it's
did
too
say
late,
it
no.
on the video.
No.
I did say it, food. I think water and food come together anyway, so it's like a joint thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Number 2,
Yeah.
water. So you
Yeah.
got that wrong.
No, that's right.
Wrong. Okay. Number 3, you put down food. No,
Yeah.
you put water.
Yeah.
But it is actually the map
What?
because you use it to find out where you're going. Just,
I said that, didn't I? But in the wrong way. I said to find out where you are, so you already know where you are. But I feel I feel I was saying something about the map, like
But
looking
you're on the moon, so there's not really any landmarks for you to look for, so you're going to have to use the stars to figure out which direction you need to go in. You know, like sailors.
Yeah, but I don't really think I'll be able to recognise the stars to know where I am.
We should probably brush up on that in case you ever get struck on the moon. Right, the next one then.
Yeah.
Food. There we go, obviously.
Okay.
Everyone needs food. Number 5 then is our little radio. You've got that as 7. You can use it to communicate with the base, but it's got a short range, so I think you'd have to actually be able to see the base before you could use it.
Why is that number 5 then?
Well, I imagine once you see the base, you can get on the radio and go, oh, hello, I'm outside and I'm about to die. Can you please come and rescue me?
Okay.
There you go. Number 6 then is the nylon rope. You had that as 5. Okay, close enough. You can use it to scale cliffs.
What?
In case you get bored, you know, you fancy a bit of rock climbing on the moon. No, if there's any cliffs in
I
your
was
way,
actually joking
you
about
can
that.
use-
So that's something which I would not be doing.
you could also use them to tie up injured people. I don't mean tie up like, you know, leave them on train tracks, tie up. I mean, no, like maybe band them together so you can drag them if you can't walk.
No, that's true though, isn't it? Like you might have hurt your leg.
Yeah, you can
And
just
I'm
imagine
dragging you.
floating in space, like pulling them all.
That's pretty funny as well. Like, I'm dragging you, but I'm also rock climbing at the same time. It's like you have to wait, but I'll come and get you at some point.
You would be dragged along the ground, Ellie. You're not floating in the sky. Because, for the 3rd time, there is gravity on the moon. Number 7
Yeah.
is the first aid kit. You had that as 9.
Hey,
It-
we didn't have that information, did we? Including injection needle.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I'm not sure. But yeah, there is an injection needle, but
what do you need that for?
in case you are injured and you need medicine.
No,
Vitamins.
it's
But we already have
The
the
needle.
right.
Oh, okay.
Because
right.
you said, well, quite rightly, that you can't really be taking off your spacesuit to, I don't know, bandage yourself up. But the spacesuit would come with like a little hole that you could
Oh,
use
okay.
to inject.
Right.
There we go. Number 8 then, signal flares. You can use them once you're within sight of the base. Just
Right, okay.
fire up the signals, they'll know where you are and they'll come and rescue you. Number 9, the pistols. You had them as 8. You can use them as a propulsion system. I don't know, jump in the air, start firing the pistols, you'll probably bounce back quite a few feet. There you go.
What?
Did you ever think
So
of
that's
that?
just for your own entertainment?
No, that's to get places, that's to get where you need to go.
Why don't you just walk?
Because that uses energy. Whereas if you jump up and start like firing like
So
you're
I'm going to be
70
doing the rock climbing with the rope, but I can't be bothered to walk, so I best use a gun. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, I guess that's why it's number 9, because walking will probably be easier.
Yeah.
And number 10 is the compass. You had that as number 4. The moon's magnetic field isn't polarized, I just learned. So if you had a compass on the moon, it wouldn't point north because there's nothing for it to point to, so I imagine it'd just spin around. You wouldn't know where you were going. There you go. That's something I learnt earlier, and now you've learnt it as well. I'm going to say you survived, but barely. There we go. If you've got anything similar to theirs, or if you've managed to get it correct, well done. You've managed to survive. If you've got it completely wrong, unfortunately, you're dead on the moon.
That was interesting, Tom, but what was the point of it?
Well, we're linking into our theme of servant leadership, but the thing with this activity is you all start off with you have your 10 items, and people at home doing it, you know, you've all got the same 10 items, and you have to use them as best as you can in order to survive and complete the activity as best as you can.
I see. I'm with you. And actually, it does kind of link into us, doesn't it, that? Because you have these 10 items and you've got to use them in the correct way.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you can kind of think, in our own life, have we not got like these items which we need to use in the right way? Do you get what I mean by that?
Yeah, so the point is then you need to think about how we can use what we've been given in our lives to survive, to live out the example that Jesus has set before us, the example he wants us to follow, as he said in the gospel.
Yeah, like I always think, do you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of like a builder. So recently we've had a bit of work and we new wires and stuff done in the house. And when the builder came, he had like this belt.
Yeah.
I think they're called like utility belts. So I'm not too sure, I don't have one myself, so I'm just going to presume that. And actually though, he came in and all he needed was in that bell, and it was on him. And actually we then asked him to do a job, he did the service, we paid him, but everything which he needed was in that bell. It's a little bit like us, isn't it really? Because we spoke about in the past few different reflection points how we do have like these gifts, these talents, these things which we can offer to other people. And actually then, they're all like equipped in us, they're all there. So for example, like I can play guitar, Tom can't play guitar, but Tom can speak different languages, I can't speak different languages. And so we have these different things, we're like caring, like we love each other, we're able to listen to each other, all of these things are like in us. But actually a little bit like this activity, if we don't use them in the correct way, then actually we're not being that leader, we're not being a servant of God, because we're actually saying, yeah, thanks for that, God, but actually I'm just going to not really look at that and carry on doing what I want to do. Whereas saying, well, no, when you were born, when you had your sacraments, I gave you all these things, and actually use them in the best way you can. Don't just sit back, don't just watch the world go by. No, live in the moment and live to the best that you can be. Be fulfilled in life with me by your side.
And so now we're going to hear a bit about the life of someone who has, followed the example of Jesus, someone who was a servant leader in their life. So this is a saint of the church, and her name is Saint Bernadette.
So I want to take this opportunity to offer another saint who might help us on our journey, if you like, through this Faith in Action Award. Someone who can inspire us and someone who can give us an example, and specifically this time an example of servant leadership. When I was thinking of a saint that might do that, my mind automatically went to someone again who I'm fairly familiar with, who's helped me through my life. And perhaps you'll understand why when I say it's Saint Bernadette. Now, Bernadette, as many of you might know, is automatically linked in our minds to the Shrine of Lourdes. And for me, Lourdes has helped me through my vocational journey to help me, become a priest. But it's also helped me before I became a priest to think about faith in my life, to help me think about where God might be and think about the person I wanted to be. So Lourdes has been important in my life, and so Saint Bernadette has as well. What might be a little bit more surprising though is why I might have chosen Saint Bernadette as an example of servant leadership. We might not automatically put Saint Bernadette as a leader, maybe not even a servant. We think of her as a visionary perhaps, because she's most famous for seeing the visions of the Blessed Virgin Mary in Lourdes. But hopefully I'll try and explain why I've chosen Saint Bernadette. First of all, just a little bit of background though, just so you know a bit more about Saint Bernadette. She was born in 1844, so again not too long ago. It's quite a while ago. We're not talking medieval times, it's modern history. And she was born in Lourdes, that's where she was born, and lived the early part of her life as well. She was born into what became a very, very poor family. It was never the richest, the most affluent of families. But as time went on, as she got a little bit older, the family became even poorer. And perhaps because of that lack of money and lack of funds that they had, Bernadette's health also decreased as well. She had cholera, she had very, very bad asthma. And these things are made worse by the living situation in which she found herself. By the time Bernadette was a teenager, she was about 14 years old, they were living in something called the Cachot, which is like a converted jail, a converted prison. Not a very nice place to be living, especially with all the family around as well. It was a dank place to live, and it wouldn't have helped Bernadette's health at all. And she was sent out one day to try and do something about this, to try and help with the damp in the place, try and get some firewood to heat the room in which they were living. So this was in 1858. Bernadette was 14 years old. She was sent out, And her and her sister went to somewhere they thought they could find this firewood. It was a place that was known in the town as Massabayel. It's where the area that we know more commonly as the grotto area, the shrine area. And they went down to this area to try and find the firewood that they thought would help their living situation. And while Bernadette was there, it was then that she had the first vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary. These visions would continue for a couple of weeks after the first one. Bernadette would go every day, and each day when she went and the Blessed Virgin appeared to her, Bernadette would pray, and eventually the Blessed Virgin revealed her name to be the Immaculate Conception. And it was those words that convinced many people who were a bit unsure at the time that Bernadette was telling the truth. Bernadette wouldn't have known those words. Bernadette wouldn't have been able to identify Our Lady as the Immaculate Conception unless someone had told her that. And so it gave more credence, more believability to Bernadette's story that she had actually been seeing these apparitions, these visions of the Blessed Virgin. Through these apparitions, Bernadette was told to dig in the ground and she would find water. And when she did find water, she was told to drink the water and to bathe in it. And many years later, now to this day, thousands, millions of people do the same thing. Don't dig in the ground, but they go and drink of the water that can be found in Lourdes, and they bathe in the water that can be found in Lourdes to cure for sickness, for ill health, but also spiritual healing as well, to make those individuals, I've done it myself as well, so make me, when I've done it, to make me feel better, for want of a better word, to make me feel more whole. I mean that as in like the person that God has wanted me to be. If I move away from God, then it chips away at who I actually really am. And so perhaps when I drink of the water and I bathe in the water, it brings me closer perhaps to being the person that God wants me to be. That's perhaps my way of thinking about it anyway, but certainly though, millions of people will do the same and still go to Lourdes to this day. We might think then that the reason Bernadette is a saint now is because she did have this vision, or these visions, not just one, of the Blessed Virgin. That she is a saint because Our Lady chose her to appear to in Lourdes. Well, that's not really the case. In 1866, Bernadette, tired of the fame, I suppose, that she'd acquired around Lourdes, and went to join a convent in Nevers. While she was there, she became the infirmary assistant, or the infirmary place where the nuns, the sisters there went when they weren't very well. And she looked after her fellow sisters in the convent. And it was noted that she was a person of true humility. She was very, very humble. She didn't boast of what had happened to her when she was a little bit younger. She didn't boast about Our Lady appearing to her. She didn't try and make herself superior. She didn't try and make herself above and over others while she was there. She's very humble, even though the sisters there knew that the Blessed Virgin had appeared to her. In fact, one sister even said to her, are you not proud that you were chosen? And Saint Bernadette said, how can I be proud? I was chosen because I was the most ignorant. She showed a great deal of humility. And I think it's that reason Saint Bernadette is now a saint. Now, I'm not suggesting that we don't listen in school so we can become more ignorant. I don't think that's what Saint Bernadette was meaning. She wasn't chosen because she was stupid, ignorant. That's not the point she was trying to make. I suppose what she was trying to say is she didn't place herself on a pedestal. She was just open to God working through her. And she was open to what God might want to say to her. And because of that, she displayed this tremendous humility in her life. And that's why she became a saint. She is not a saint because Our Lady appeared to her. She's a saint because she lived a life of amazing virtue, that she put herself at the service of others. And that's why I think she's a great saint for this particular reflection point, servant leadership, because she was a servant of others. She was a servant, first of all, of her family back in Lourdes. It was that servanthood that led her to go to the grotto at Massabielle to look for firewood. She could have stayed in and said, I am sickly, I have cholera, I have asthma, I don't want to be wading across waters and making myself ill. She said, no, I want to put myself at the service of my family. And it was that service that eventually would lead her to seeing the Blessed Virgin. She could then have said, no, I'm not going to come back here, I'm scared, I don't want to see this vision anymore. But she didn't. She then became at the service of Our Lady, and so at the service of God, by receiving the message of Our Lady to find the water and to instruct others to go to Lourdes. And so that's allowed us to go to Lourdes in our place. Without that message, where would we be? We wouldn't be able to go on pilgrimage to Lourdes ourselves. So we have Bernadette to thank for being at the service of Our Lady and God by offering us this message. And finally then, she became a servant of the sisters in Nevers. When they were ill, when they were very, very sick, when they went to the infirmary, she was the one that would look after them. She would bathe them, she would give them the medicines, she would give them the food, she would nourish them. She was at the service of the most sickly, the most poorly in her community. All of those things add up to why Saint Bernadette would become a saint. It was through the service of others. But now when we look back, we can see that she's led us as well. Her service leads us, servant leadership. She gives us an example of what we can do. And we follow that example. We do, especially in this diocese. We go to Lourdes every year as an archdiocese. We take 500 young people, we take medical professionals, we take all kinds of different people who help out in Lourdes for a week in the summer. We are following in St. Bernadette's footsteps. We're following her example. She is leading us, but she does it and did it through acts of service. That's why I think St. Bernadette is a great example for us as we try and live out this reflection point of servant leadership.
Okay, so having heard then about the life of Bernadette Soubirous, she was a perfect example of our theme today. She was a servant of God and shining an example to other people as well. You know, she was made a saint not because of the vision she had of Our Lady in Lourdes, and she was made a saint because of the way she lived her life afterwards as a nun. You know, she was, as I said, this perfect shining example.
To reflect on this reflection point, we do have a few questions that you guys can answer at home, and we're going to talk through them as well. So let's have a look. Okay, so what are the qualities needed for a good leader?
I think the compassion, you know, you need to be nice to people. Humility, you need to know when you've made a mistake. You don't want to be like one of those people who, you know, thinks they can't do anything wrong and then gets really angry when someone criticises them. Anything else?
Well, no, like, it's just really like what we said at the start, wasn't it? Because you have like this idea that to be a leader, you've got to be like good at management, you've got to be good at like being like a boss, you've got to have these certain things about you to be that leader. But actually then when we moved on and we talked about how we are all equipped in actually many different ways, actually perhaps it isn't them qualities which are needed to be a leader, it's what we already have, what God's given us, which is very different to what I have, to what you have. But when we actually use what we've been given the best that we can, we automatically do become this servant, but also this leader, this good leader. Yeah,
I think like the things that you said, like the being a manager and all that, I think that's what a leader is, but not what a good leader needs. So I think anyone could be a leader, but you know, maybe you need certain things to be a good one.
I suppose as well, like if we all just had the same attributes to be that good leader, imagine how boring the world will be, because it'd be like robots, wouldn't it? We are meant to have different things to offer, and that is who we are, or else we'd all be walking around speaking different languages, but it won't be anything special. You just go, well, I can do that too, so that's nice. So,
diversity.
Yeah.
Well, I think also that one of the key things that a good leader should have is that they're approachable. So, like, if you are struggling or something, you can approach them and they'll be able to help you as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is, do I value the contributions I make and the work I do?
It's a tough one, that, isn't it? Because it's like, you don't want to be a person who's like, yeah, I make a big difference, it's all because of me, I'm the best that I can be, and I know it. You don't want to have that attitude, but then there is that other sense, isn't there, where you can go to such the other extreme, where you don't think anything that you do is valued or is valuable. And I think that's like the struggle with this, isn't it? Because if we don't recognise that we have these different gifts, that actually what you can offer is good, if we don't see our purpose, then what a sad life we're living, to not value ourselves, knowing that God's created us and valued us.
Yeah.
So
I think, the thing about valuing your own contributions, I think you really need to do that, because if you don't, then you're just going to really just do everything. Like, say you're told to do something, like, say you're given a task and you just think, I'm not going to make a difference, or I can't be bothered doing this. It's not going to be useful to other people, so you need to value your work and your own time and think about how you can, use that time wisely, how you can make a difference.
it's like that saying, isn't it? Like, you can only start to love others once you love yourself. And that's like so true with the value. You can only value others once you can see the value in yourself. I think that's like a nice ending really to that question.
Okay. So the next one, why would someone want to follow me?
I think that comes back to what you just said for the last one about bigging yourself up. My contribution to the most. Why would someone want to follow me? Let me just turn that question back on you, Ellie. Why wouldn't someone want to follow me? I mean, look at me. No, I think it is like, you're supposed to say, yeah, someone would want to follow me because I'm a good person, I set a good example or whatever it is, but you don't really want to come across as arrogant either. I'm not sure.
I think if you're like a good role model, then people would want to like follow you and stuff like that.
I think it's just really going down the lines again, isn't it, of self-worth?
Yeah.
The fact of is like, you might be sat there now watching and listening to us speak, and you might not actually be able to see the value which many people can see in you. And so you might have a lot of followers, you might have people right beside you, but you don't recognise it.
Okay, the next one then. Am I inspiring to others?
No.
No.
I was just say no.
Again, I think it's, unless someone explicitly says to you, you inspire me, I don't know how you'd know that. Maybe you just hope that you're living a good enough life that someone will be like, you know what, they're a really inspirational person.
I think you do like live out your life to like hope that someone would see you as like a good inspiring person.
I wonder if Bernadette knew she was inspiring. Like, do you know when we looked at the story before, it's like, would she have sat there and said, I'm an inspiring person? Or is it that fact of we don't maybe recognise that, but everyone else does?
Yeah, I
agree with you there.
Okay, the next one then, is it a sign of weakness to show love? No. Yeah, no, I don't think it is.
You get people who are like that, you get people who think, like, showing emotions is like a sign of weakness, you've got like that stiff upper lip, thing, or if you're upset, don't tell anyone, but, it's the same with this, showing compassion, showing love to people, helping people, it's not a sign of weakness, it's what we need to do, isn't it? We're talking about following Jesus's example, we need to show love.
How would you grow as a person if you were never vulnerable? if you never opened up to people, if you always had this front on,
That's true.
then actually you're restricting yourself from growing. Because if I always came down on a Monday morning happy as Larry, you would think, what's going on here? Because that isn't normal.
Lauren's never happy.
Yes, that isn't normal. Like, we're allowed to have different emotions and do different emotions. Like, Jesus did different emotions. He wasn't just this person who, yes, he loved us, but he definitely wasn't this perfect being.
This perfect stoic.
Yeah, he showed human emotions, and if he could do it, then surely that's like a message to live out in us. It's like these emotions are natural.
Yeah.
And only when maybe we show them emotions are we allowing ourselves to grow as individuals.
I'm thinking talking about leadership, when is it a sign of weakness to show love as a leader? If you're a leader, is it a sign of weakness to show love to the people under you? So I was just thinking then about the apostles, they weren't afraid to ask Jesus questions or to wonder what a parable meant or ask him who's the greatest, things like that. So it comes back to what you were saying about being approachable as well. So even though they knew how important Jesus was, they still knew that he loved them and would help them if they needed it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the last one then, can you only be a good leader if people follow? No, I don't think.
Can you
That's
only be a
the only
leader if
way.
people follow?
I would say yeah.
I mean, I don't think you need people to follow to be a good leader. Me, for example, I think I'm a very good leader, but I don't have that many followers on Instagram. But I still feel like I'm setting a good example to the people who do. No, but then you need followers.
I'll follow you tonight.
No, thank you.
This is why you have no followers. Open up.
Right, can you only be a leader if people follow?
Well, I think you can, because if you don't have a follower, are you not something else then? So you can be a good person and not be a leader.
But does it come back to then the servant leadership that Jesus wants us to follow as example? Even if I don't know, if we're servants and leaders, then we have followers. I don't know.
And what happens if you're a follower to someone else? What does that make you?
A follower? No, a follower. Can you be a leader and a follower at the same time?
I think you can.
Then
I
you
honestly think you can. Because you think about the Prime Minister.
I don't know.
But right, he's like a follower of the Queen,
Right.
but then other people follow the Prime Minister.
That's true, isn't it? That is, I get that, because it's like, for example, back at school, you lot will have your head teacher, but actually underneath that is the deputy. But you could respect the deputy more than you respect the head teacher.
Yeah.
Even though the title is at the higher.
Yeah, because you can respect the teacher more than you can respect.
The Queen.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, this has completely boggled my mind.
I know. This is what happens when you put three of us in a room together with 6 questions. So, but I suppose really that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, we've just got then the final question that we leave you guys with. So it is, how have you lived out the theme of servant leadership during the awards? So during the Faith in Action Award, how have you followed the example of Jesus? Think about what you've done throughout all your time, throughout every reflection point. How have you been this servant leader?
So we are coming to the end of this reflection point, but we do have one final challenge for you, and it is to take a picture and post it on social media and tag us to say how well you've done on your journey through faith in action. And we're going to start that off, and we're going to take a selfie right now to post on social media, and you can give it a like if you want to. So free.
No pressure. Oh.
There we go. Yeah, she's shaving hair. That's the problem with that photo, not us. But I suppose, really, you're right, a little challenge for you there. But we wanted you to do that because we want people to know what you've been doing, especially in this difficult time, with all the chaos going on in the world. I suppose it's only right to really end our last reflection or session to say thank you to you back at home, because actually you lot are practically putting your faith into action. You are living out the message of faith for others to follow. And so I want to say a big thank you. And I know as well that the Archbishop Malcolm, he has spoken to me, and he said how much actually he's excited and enthusiastic about what all the young people within the church are doing and within schools are doing. So it's only right to say a big thank you. You should pat yourselves on the back because you've done very well, and you can't go and touch anyone else, so there you go. But that's all from us. We do have, obviously you're on YouTube now watching this. If you subscribe, you'll get notifications. There are other things which we do, believe it or not. We do not just throughout the year do 4 reflection points, all done. There are maybe things which you can get involved in to help you with your hours as well, okay? So, goodbye from me.
Goodbye from Tom.
Goodbye from me.
Excellent.
That was pretty good. Should we get McDonald's?
Yes!
Oh, turn the on air light off, let's go.
Okay.
Yes.
Sloppy.
That's what we're doing tonight.
Is that thing still on?
Is it on?
Yeah.